Is the CFA worth it? Should you consider it? What are the pros and what are the cons of doing the CFA? What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Afzal Hussain. You can find out a bit more about me through the social media links below, or you can check out my website, which is www.afzalhussain.com. If you aren't already, be sure to follow me on Instagram and LinkedIn. That way you can keep up with content that I release more frequently. If you haven't already, do check out the previous two videos on CFA. One is focusing on what is the CFA, high-level overview of the things that you can expect if you don't know much about it, and the other one is focusing on the cost of CFA and touching on more of the intricacies of what the CFA actually entails. Okay, first and foremost, let's touch on the pros, the positives of why you should consider doing the CFA. So immediately when you look at someone who's applying to a company for a job and you do your research and you see on LinkedIn that they've done CFA level 1 or they've registered or they're preparing for CFA level 2, whatever it is, it shows initiative. So when you see a candidate who is, considering doing CFA, it shows that they've been proactive. They are trying to further themselves and their knowledge within the financial markets and the financial landscape, and so that naturally kind of helps them stand out compared to a candidate who doesn't have a financial qualification or a financial degree or any relevant work experience. So expressing an interest or proactively studying for CFA will help you stand out compared to other candidates who aren't. Another point to consider is when you put on your CV CFA level 1 passed or level 2 passed, on track for level 3, or CFA charter holder, it makes you stand out. It does stand out, especially if you're applying to financial institutions such as asset management firms, investment banks, private equity firms, hedge funds. It shows them that you have a firm grounding in certain areas of the financial markets and the world of finance and banking by having achieved your level 1, 2 and 3 of CFA. And so it does look good always compare it to a candidate that doesn't have it. It does stand out on your CV. If you have CFA next to your name, it tells people, okay, this person has a certain amount of knowledge, which is pretty strong if you've got the CFA. And so people give you that respect. They realize, all right, you know your stuff. And so it kind of gives that stamp of approval that you are going to be comfortable in a financial environment. And so going in as a first, second, third, fourth year employee or an experienced professional coming in as an associate or a vice president, it gives the company that you're joining some peace of mind. It gives your team, your manager, some peace of mind that, okay, you know your stuff because you've got CFA next to your name. And that is kind of like the stamp of approval that you want. Compare that to someone who hasn't. It's trickier to kind of have that belief or confidence in that individual. I think where CFA really stands out is if you are a student and you're proactively pursuing the CFA. That really shows employers that you're super keen and you're very dedicated to the field, which is great. But on the flip side, you have to always ask yourself, if you've done the right experiences, the right internships, and you've got relevant experience and you've got your grad scheme lined up, what's the point doing CFA when you can do it when you join the company and they'll pay for it for you? Think about your personal situation, because everyone's situation is going to differ and you need to kind of find out what works best or what is best for you and for your specific situation. Okay, now what are the costs of doing the CFA or the cons? The obvious one is the financial burden. It costs a lot of money. If you haven't seen already, check out the previous video. It can set you back anywhere between £6,000 and £15,000 depending on how many times you retake, or all the courses, the studying, the registration fees, the exams, they all add up. So if you've got, let's say, £10,000 to spend on CFA, then maybe it's worth considering. But you can play the system by letting your firm pay for it when you join a company. But once again, you need to analyze your situation and see what works best for you. There's also a cost of time. Each level on average requires between 300 and 330 hours of study. So doing that on top of your university degree, or doing that on top of your career or your 9 to 5 or your 8 to 8 or whatever it is going to require a lot of hard work, a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. And so you need to ask yourself, genuinely, honestly, do you think you're cut out to do it? So there's a cost, there's a monetary cost, and there's a huge cost in time and effort. Those are the two main factors that can put people off studying for the CFA charter. My personal advice is, if you're on track to graduating and getting a graduate scheme at a top or a bulge bracket investment bank, you don't need to do CFA before you graduate university. You can use that firm to pay for you to do CFA, and you can just hustle it that way. If you're in a position, however, where you haven't got a grad scheme offer and you're thinking of buying yourself some time or doing something on the side to show you're proactive, CFA is an option. You could do CFA level 1 and put that on your CV. That will make any employers realize, all right, this person is serious, he or she is kind of dedicated to the field, they're doing CFA level 1, which naturally means, or if they pass CFA level 1, naturally means they're going to go on and do level 2 and 3, and so we can count on this person to be in the industry for the next few years. Alternatively, you can consider doing a master's that buys you 1 extra year. In that year you can go and apply to internships. Alternatively, you can go and do a master's, and in your 3rd year you can be applying to internships because you're going to be doing a master's, so you've bought yourself some time. If you want me to do a video on master's degrees versus CFA, leave a comment below and I'll try and make that as soon as possible if there's enough demand. But really and truly, whether you do CFA or not, it comes down to your personal situation, and my advice is, if you've got a job offer lined up, try and get the firm to pay for it. If you haven't got anything lined up, consider doing CFA level 1, but also consider doing a master's to buy yourself time, because you want to just secure some experience to get your foot into the door. Once you get your foot into the door, then the world is your oyster. You can move about. A lot of these companies have internal mobility options and opportunities, and you can just take it from there. So all in all, does CFA help you get into the world of banking and finance? It can, to a large extent. It definitely does help you stand out compared to candidates who don't have CFA on their CV. So if 2 candidates have applied for the same role, and I look at both CVs, or the person employing you looks at both CVs, the candidate with CFA next to their name is definitely going to stand out. So it can help you. The more levels you've done, or if you've got CFA next to your name, it might even increase your pay bracket. It might give you a bargaining chip, which you can use in your offers from employers to kind of increase your salary that they expect to pay you. A candidate who doesn't have CFA next to their name doesn't have that bargaining chip, so it works 2 ways, because that candidate might, on the flip side, have a CV that has lots of relevant experience or lots of good experience, and the candidate who has CFA next to their name, they might have a weak CV in that there isn't a lot of relevant experience. So it really depends. The best situation is you've got lots of relevant experience on your CV and you have CFA next to your name. That would be ideal. But a lot of candidates will have lots of relevant experience and no CFA, or the reverse of that, the CFA next to their name and no relevant experience. Once again, there's a lot of cost that goes into it, monetarily and financially, so you need to really judge it based on your current position and situation. My advice is always, if you can get a company to pay for it, you save a lot of money, and ask yourself if you're willing to put in the time commitment to study for it. Because a lot of analysts and junior people in the world of banking and finance, they know they're going to only do 2 or 3 years and then leave the industry, go to a startup, do something completely different, which doesn't require them to have the CFA. So definitely analyze your current position and be forward looking. Ask yourself, are you in this industry for the long run, or do you see yourself moving later on? And then ask yourself, given these answers, does it make sense for me to do the CFA, commit this much time, commit this much money to pursuing this qualification? If you found that video useful, do leave a like, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, do please consider subscribing to the channel, turn on post notifications, and I will catch you in the next video. But for now, thanks for watching, and do leave any comments or video suggestions in the comments below. Peace!